A lot of us carry pain we don't even know we're carrying. Not because we're weak or broken, but because we got so good at surviving, we forgot that survival isn't the same as healing. That's what trauma does. It teaches us to adapt so well that we start to confuse our coping mechanisms for our personality. But what if you're not actually distant? What if you're just protecting a part of you that once wasn't safe to be seen? Let's be clear, trauma doesn't always come from abuse or disaster. Sometimes it comes from absence. The absence of safety, the absence of validation, the absence of being emotionally held. For example, a child who only got attention when they succeeded may grow up believing they're only lovable when they achieve. A teen who had to stay quiet to avoid conflict at home may grow into an adult who struggles to express needs, always deferring to others. A kid who grew up with emotionally unavailable parents may become someone who feels uncomfortable with real intimacy, even if they crave connection. And yet, none of these people would say they were traumatized because it didn't look dramatic. But trauma isn't about drama. It's about disconnection. It's about what we had to bury in order to feel safe. That's why trauma isn't just a mental wound. It's a physiological pattern wired into our nervous system. Our body remembers even when our mind tries to forget. Section 2. The hidden signs of trauma. A lot of us don't recognize trauma because it shows up dressed like something else. We don't say, "I'm dysregulated." We say, "I just can't relax." We don't say, "I have emotional flashbacks." We say, "I overreact sometimes." Here are a few signs trauma may still be living in your body. You feel emotionally numb, but can't explain why. You panic when someone doesn't text back, even though you tell yourself it's irrational. You feel uncomfortable receiving compliments or affection. You over-apologize, even when it's not your fault. You get overwhelmed by decisions because choosing wrong used to mean punishment or shame. You isolate when you're hurting because you learned vulnerability was dangerous. These aren't just quirks. They're patterns that protected you once. And in some way, they still believe they need to. Trauma isn't just in what happened back then. It's in how we live now, in how we brace ourselves when someone raises their voice, in how we feel shame for asking for help, in how we try to earn rest instead of just taking it. Trauma says, you're only safe when you're in control. Healing says, you're safe even when you're just being. Section 3. How trauma shapes us. To survive trauma, we build systems inside of us. Psychological, emotional, even spiritual systems. These systems do things like shut off emotions to avoid overwhelm, create rigid routines to feel in control, distrust joy because it never lasts, downplay our pain because we don't want to be too much. But over time, these protective systems become prisons. Here's the truth. You are not your survival strategies. You are not your hyperindependence. You are not your overthinking. You are not your silence. You learned to survive this way, but you don't have to stay this way. You might have grown up learning that love means walking on eggshells, or that crying is weakness, or that vulnerability invites punishment. But just because it was true then doesn't mean it has to be true now. The goal is to integrate what happened so it no longer controls you. To return, not to the past, but to your truest self. Section 4. The healing process. So how do we actually begin to heal? First, we recognize that healing is not a straight line. You'll have days where it feels like you're back at square one. That doesn't mean you're failing. That means you're in it. Think of healing as reparenting your nervous system. You teach it slowly that it's safe now, that it doesn't have to brace for impact every time someone gets close. Some practical steps: body-based healing, gentle breath work, grounding exercises, movement, anything that helps you feel in your body again. Inner child work. Speak to the part of you that learned to stay small. Offer it the love it never received. Community. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. Safe people help us rewire our relationship with trust. Boundaries. Learn to say no without guilt. That's how your soul starts to feel safe again. Therapy or support groups. Find spaces where your truth isn't just allowed, but honored. You don't have to fix yourself. You just have to stop abandoning yourself. Healing is remembering what it feels like to be home inside your own being. If you've been stuck in survival mode for years, I see you. If you've been holding it all together while quietly falling apart, I see you. And I want to say this. The fact that you're even here, listening, searching, willing to look inward, that's not weakness. That's sacred strength. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep showing up for yourself. Healing isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. Honest about what hurt. Honest about what's still hurting. And honest about what you're ready to finally release. You're not who the trauma told you to be. You are who you were before the fear, the shame, and the silence. And you are allowed to come home to that person. Becoming soul isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you've always been beneath the fear, the trauma, the pressure. You don't need to get it all right. You just need to keep showing up. So breathe. Keep building. Keep going. You're not lost. You're not late. You're just in process. And the process is sacred. Because the roots grow before the fruit shows. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming.